Alright, so for our second piece of animation, I think we're going to do one of those big text animations where the camera is traveling from point to point. We'll build out those scenes like we mentioned in a previous lesson, and then I think we'll put it all together and make it look all nice and easy, and we'll see what else we can do to kind of add some cool effects. So first and foremost, let's have a look at the text we've got. So we've got what is it? But if that wave of content is boring, I think if we do but if that wave of content as one, that could be really good. So let's go ahead and let's write that up, and I think we'll that. I don't want that all in caps. Where's the all caps button? There we go. But if that, oh, it's also got a black border. I gotta make sure I remove that. I think for the first, I want to find like a tall piece of text for wave end content, and I think I do have one that I have in mind. Now let's see if I can find it. I feel like half of this walkthrough has just been me scrolling through fonts. There we go, that's the one I'm looking for. It's maybe a bit thin, but I think we'll just size it up a bit, and that should... Oh, we also have a bold version. Let's use that then. Bold, and then size that up. Let's try maybe 100. And then maybe we put this back as our original font, which I think was Georgia. Yep. And maybe let's put that but as italics, just to emphasize that for a moment. Then let's, it's already centered to the middle. That's good. Yeah, okay, I think that's good. I think if we're working in a bigger size, we can definitely make our font just overall a bit bigger. Okay. So if it was 60, if we wanted to do, if 60 is 100%, then 100 would be 166%. So to get that, we can just times our our font size by 1.6, and that's going to give us, that's what we wanted. All right, I hope that math was right. That feels right. Whatever, we're just going to go with it. Then we'll obviously center this again. But if that wave of content, then I think we'll definitely add some colors to this. What does he say after that? It is boring? Yeah, okay, I think maybe we can do kind of diagonally across in front of the text, and then we can add some blur to it and almost give like a police tape sort of feel to it. I think that could be interesting. So let's do that. With content is boring, and then I think we'll go with our favorite. Oh, we want it to be a little. No, we've already used Futura. Let's use Montserrat, and let's put that as extra bold, and also in italics. Let's do extra bold italic, so that we can justify it being a bit rotated, so that motion makes a bit more sense. Yeah, I reckon that's That's enough rotation. I think we'll balance it out a little bit. And then once we have some blur, it'll be a bit different. I think we'll make that a different color. So yeah, I reckon that's alright so far. It's boring. Let's delete that before it pops up. And I think we'll animate this now before we start working in 3D, because that's what you should do. Let's just go up. We're only going to be using Animation Composer because you guys know how text is animated and you guys know how to improve it. We're just kind of going through and building everything out. Maybe if we do it from the top, that could look interesting for a 3D animation. Oh, obviously we got to turn on motion blur. Yeah. Okay, but if that, and then we'll start the wave of content animation about here, and I kind of want to do one that's a bit more flashy, a bit more over the top, I guess. I don't know what else. There's that one where they kind of come in at an angle. Yeah, I think this. We have it going. Apologies. Okay, let's see how this goes. Definitely think we can bring this in a little more so that by the time we actually want the text to be readable, which is about here, it actually is popping up. So let's I still want it to come in a little earlier, I wish, because it only starts at about here, I wish, because you want the overlap in the animation so it's not static and boring. Okay, so, and then I think for the is boring section, we might even want to add like, there's some interesting ones here, but they're never too exciting. Obviously you make them exciting with your motion and with your things like that. I think something more simple, just like this, is kind of what we want to go for something where it's kind of at an angle. Now let's actually make sure that it's aligning with the audio. Alright, so let's have a listen.
But if that wave of content is boring,
yeah, it's fine. I think once we start working on that in 3D, we'll definitely be able to do something a bit more. Is it? Sorry for that. I slightly bumped my microphone and my whole recording stopped. So where were we? We were checking if the audio lines up.
But if that wave of content is boring,
yeah, it lines up a little bit better now. I still think we can add some depth in 3D, and that'll really help us bring it together. Well, we get off the word is boring kind of ends here. So let's you know what, let's just start working on this in 3D. Let's give this some depth. Let's make this a little bit more interesting to look at. But if that let's put it back and then to the side a little bit so that we have some distance to travel to. I don't really want to work in depth. Yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't really want to work in I only want to have to worry about kind of linear motion. I don't want to have to worry about a whole bunch of different axes. I kind of just want to move side to side or back and forward. I don't want to have to do them at the same time for this animation. So let's move you back, and then, well, actually let's just select everything and put them all roughly in the same section, and then we can sort it out. Where is my 3D tools? There we go. So we can see what we're working on. Now let's add some depth to it. And I reckon if we add almost a shadowy look and have a little, like just a smidge of overlap, let's grab one of our effects here. Any drop shadow will work. I think I'll use Sapphire's drop shadow only because it's just the one that it's just my go-to. Let me have a look through here. And then where do we want it to be coming from? Is this going to work in 3D? You know what? Let's just try and see if the built-in drop shadow is going to work. Yeah, you can see like 2 pixels where it's working. Okay. Let's increase the softness. No, okay, we're not going to use this because I cannot increase the size, and I want to increase the size. Grab you. We want it to be, let's just make it 0, 0 so we know where we're working. Yeah, straight away we can see how that shadow is now having an effect on the text, which is really good, and that's exactly what we're going for here. We don't want it to be too big. We want it to be kind of a bit like this. Definitely want to increase the opacity of it just so it's a bit more noticeable. Yeah, that's looking good. And do we want to move it up at all, or is it fine where it is? I reckon that's good. It looks a little bit dramatic, and then I think we'll do a pretty similar thing with this piece of text. And then obviously we will add our blur as well. So let's just grab this, smack you on there. Yeah, there we go. And I think we'll actually put that to 0. Change the opacity down so that it's much less noticeable, because we can see the whole bit. Oh, we can see the whole shadow, which we don't want it to be super obvious. Let's go ahead and let's add our adjustment layer in here. We do actually want to flip almost all of these around, so let's grab you, and let's actually hide all of these except this one. And we used Gaussian blur earlier, so you know, why fix what I broke? Let's grab you, turn that off. Maybe make it 25. Let's see how that's looking. Oh, it's maybe a bit intense. Let's try 10. Yeah, okay, that's looking alright. I reckon now we'll yeah, and we'll make sure that that text is hidden, like all of the extra text is hidden. Yeah, cool. And then maybe do we just want to have a bunch of zoom outs, and then we just go, is boring, lame, or uninteresting, and we just have like 3 quick zoom outs. That could be pretty okay. And then cut back to Joseph for the then what's the point, and then, you know, like you're seeing the person, you can make a stronger connection. It makes the point hit harder, so I think that's actually what we'll do. So is boring, and don't mind if it's off-centered when you're still on this stage. We still haven't even added in a camera, so it's totally fine. Is boring, I think we'll just duplicate is boring, and then lame. Grab the rotation, let's move it to about -8, just to give it a little bit of difference, maybe not that much. Lame. Actually, let's put some more distance. Then we'll duplicate lame again. And then we'll make it say uninteresting. I wish I chose a shorter word when I was writing the script, but you know what? It's fine. And then we have it's boring, lame is about here. It doesn't really matter, it's a 3D scene. The camera is what actually needs to be moving. And then I think as we'll add in camera before adding in all of the blurs, because we'll want it to correspond with the camera motion itself. So I think with that, let's quickly shy all of these layers away. Let's add in our camera. Let's put it in. I think for this one, now I was talking with Charles when we were planning this one, and I never taught you guys, or at least when I was teaching you guys the cameras, I completely glossed over 1-node and 2-node camera. And the reason, because I thought it was just an extra advanced setting that didn't really matter, because I was editing when it was introduced, so I just left it as it was and learned how to make it work, which is something I shouldn't have done. But I do know now that if I have this right, and I sound... Yeah, okay, so 2-node camera has a point of interest, so you can move it and, you know, rotate it around a single point, whereas 1-node camera doesn't have a point of interest, which is how it used to be, or maybe it was the other way around, I'm not 100% sure. But it's a super useful tool, and because we are going to pretty much just kind of be zooming out as we go through this animation, I think we'll just use 1-node, because honestly, if you want to know how I've been making a 1-node camera, and it's just this: you make a 2-node camera, you go to your transform controls, and you attach your point of interest to your position, and this means that whatever the position is, that's what the point of interest is going to be. So it's going to be like right in front of you, so it doesn't matter what like where it is, it's going to be looking right in front of it no matter what, which is exactly how a 1-node camera was. So I somehow managed to self-engineer my way into making a 1-node camera. So interesting, annoying, but you know, whatever. I still can't believe I didn't know that. So let's grab our position. Let's where do we want it to be for this? 10. Alright, so let's just grab that wave of content. Let's center that and make sure that looks all good. And rotation is a pretty big part of his style, having that kind of not misaligned, but a little bit misaligned look to it. We want to kind of avoid give me a title and action safe, please. Let's actually mute these or hide those so that I can see what I'm working with. So we want this to be about here. That looks pretty centered to me. I think it's got a little bit more of its weight towards the bottom. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. And then we'll just nudge it over a smidge. I think that's pretty good. I think that's where we'll want it at this point in time. And then we'll keyframe the rotation. Do we want to add 3D? We're using a 1-node camera. Let's not make this any more complicated than it has to be. That's the trade-off with a 1-node camera. You can't, or you can, but it's a pain to, you know, have it kind of at an angle. But yeah, anyway, let's zoom this in for the first part so that we don't get any of those, you know, pieces that we don't want on the side, so we can see them here. We don't want those, so let's kind of pan in a little bit so that we can avoid those. Okay, we're moving a little too fast. Let's maybe put some space in between that. Yeah, there we go. That's looking alright. Yeah, cool. Alright, so let's select those, drag them about here. And then I think we'll leave it as linear keyframes, and actually maybe we'll add a little bit of a kind of key out, so maybe just ease out, nothing too insane. And then we'll start some null stacking, because that's always fun to do. Let's grab a new null, make it start at about here, make it 3D, attach U to U, grab our position keyframes, and we'll also grab our Z rotation as well. Now let's make the rest of these visible. Ooh, or, and I know we've just set everything up, or do we want to make it a really, okay, yeah, no, we are going to do that so that we don't have to zoom. We're going to change the camera layer, or camera settings, so that we have a super, is this what I mean? Yeah, that's what we want. We want a super shallow mil lens, so let's go 20 mil. Now, of course, we do have to play around with the keyframes to get it right again, which is fine, but just allows us to get closer and have the other pieces of text behind the camera, which is what we're kind of wanting. There we go, wave of content, and yep, and we got pretty much the exact same result, so that's not too much of a worry. And then let's grab our null object again. And I think we'll just push it out so that where's so we want uninteresting, it's about here, so let's put some keyframes about here, and then we're just gonna slide it on backwards. Yeah, there we go, now we're getting somewhere. So give it some rotation. I think we'll actually make the rotation of the layer itself a bit more extreme. Or am I going, oh no, boring is first. Oh, okay. I have those around the wrong way. Is boring. So let's grab our null object again and slide you forward a bit. Yeah, I kind of want to have some rotation in this piece of motion, so maybe we'll just do that. And then we'll add this curve, because this one's my favorite, this kind of smooth in, elongated out. And then just for testing, when does the actual animation start? Do we see that? Because that's, yeah, we do. Okay, now we're looking good. Looks even better when it's rendering in 2 frames a second. Is boring. And then we kind of want this to come in a little bit more. And then I think we just keep on null stacking so that we can keep building this scene out. Add you about here, grab our 3D object, let's go position, let's go Y rotation, no, Z rotation, yep, there we go. Let's attach our null number 2 to our null number 3, and then we want lame to kind of be a very quick piece of animation, so let's also make lame visible so that we can see what we're doing. And then I want a semi-big piece of rotation here. Alright, and it was starting to skew a little off center just because we're not working with our point of interest. So we're working with an animation that looks like this so far. I think I'm keeping on my mind while I'm doing this is that you never really want the motion to stop. If you can keep the motion going, you're going to keep that engagement going, you're going to keep the visual interest up. It's just a pretty easy way of making sure that the motion itself is pretty smooth. So, where were we? Let's just go ahead and let's grab another null object, which I'm sure nobody saw coming. Let's grab a 3D layer, grab hue, and interesting. Let's then I think we'll make this piece of animation end at about here. Let's make the layer that we want to look at visible, and then no, what did I forget to do? Oh, I forgot to link it. And then slide this backwards. And then for this one, so that we can have it fill up a bit more of the screen, let's put it at a bit more of a drastic angle, but then we do have to recenter it just a smidge, so just make sure that we're doing that. Maybe even a bit more of an angle, like almost, maybe a bit extreme, but you know what? I reckon it'll be alright. Sorry, I've gone dead quiet while I'm trying to center this. Okay. Okay, then let's keyframe this, and then we actually want to make sure that our animation, like the actual text popping animation, is visible and everything. So let's make sure that it's there for that. Then let's kind of change the keyframing out just a little bit so that there's a bit of, not randomness, but a bit of difference between each piece of motion. But that wave of content, boring, lame. Don't crash, don't crash. Alright, we're good. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. If the wave of content is boring, lame, uninteresting. I like that. I think it's very quick. Usually when I'm working in 3D, I like a bit of floatiness, but that's not the style that we're working in today. Everything's a little bit snappy, a little bit quick. But in saying that, we could actually kind of fade this motion out, because we're not going to have the then what's the point section, which is about here. So really it doesn't matter. So let's cut 3D scene, or you know what, how about we just be smart about this and we pre-comp it and then we cut it after the fact. That's a much better way of looking at it. Let's what is this? Scene 4_3D composition. Let's label it that. Yeah, that's fine. So make sure that doesn't. It's definitely not centered, but also I don't think I have the patience to center it properly right now. So we're just gonna put up with it. Why? Oh no, we're good. Okay. So what was the next thing we have to do? We want to add that camera blur so that we have a little bit of can we get some autofocus working, please? There's my eye. We want to add some camera blur. Oh, hello. Oh, it's getting laggy. Loom recording, for whatever reason, does not want to work with my After Effects too well. It'll be fine. I've had huge Blender files open at the same time. All right, this thing can handle it. But we want to kind of put the blur at around the time of these like zoom outs, and we want the keyframes or the keyframe motion itself to somewhat follow it. And then we'll pretty much just copy and paste that. So let's grab you, let's move back to here, and then we'll make that first keyframe about 0. And the motion is very much something like this, so I think we can get away with just copying that. And then duplicate it is boring, and then when does that piece of keyframing start? Starts at obviously the start of the layer, and then we'll move that here, and then we'll add this, and we're pretty much just going to copy and paste this onto the next one as well. Right? So this one's been done. Yep. Let's grab you. This one has to correlate with this one, which it does right off the bat, so that's good. Hang on, this. What's happening? Where's Am I crazy? Did I not do that keyframe? No, I did. It's rendering weird. Give me 2 seconds. I feel like I'm going a little bit insane. What's happening here, Chief? What's going on? I don't know what's going on. You know what? We're just gonna. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, fair game. Okay, I forgot to relink it after cutting it. Okay, fair game. Whatever. All right. So it should be a very subtle effect, but the layer behind should be getting more blurred as we kind of zoom out. You can see it there, and we can see it with boring here. It is extremely subtle. It's not really something that you're going to notice. Oh no, it's noticeable, but it's not, too noticeable. But obviously once it stacks, that first layer all the way at the very back is going to get way more blurred. Obviously the problem is once we get to this last word, we're so zoomed out that we can barely see it because of how big that word is. Again, wish I chose a shorter word, but whatever. You can't undo that, and sometimes you just gotta roll with it. But if that wave of content is boring, lame, uninteresting, there's a moment where it stops here, and I don't like that. So let's actually just drag these keyframes out a smidge. It makes it feel snappy, but almost a bit too snappy. That wave of content, boring, lame, uninteresting. Yeah, that's cool. And then let's go back into our scene. Interesting. And then what's the point? We're going to go back to Joseph. So let's cut and delete that. And then let's cut footage and bring him back. And then we'll obviously have some kind of animation.
But if that wave of content is boring, lame, or uninteresting, then what's the point? But if that wave of
Yeah, and we'll obviously have some kind of transition there. Now, what else can we do to make this just a little bit better? I think we'll chuck on that very quick compositing we did. I don't know. I'm not loving that compositing, but I think there's a good chance I'm just overthinking it. So let's go ahead. Let's toss this on here. I think I'm gonna flip the warp chroma around. I think we're getting a blue green, which isn't, kind of want a warmer feel to it. So now we've got a yellow and blue, at least a little better. Obviously, once we add a background in, it's going to be much better. Yeah. And I think I should come back here and do the same for that. Then I think we'll have a lesson where we just come back and fix a few of these up. Oop. Okay, there we go. That's looking a bit better. What else can we do? Do we want to try just putting a good old-fashioned posterized time on there? Can't see the harm in it. Especially, I'm a big fan of that effect, just in animation in general. I think it makes it feel much more animated, so let's see how that looks.
But if that wave of content is boring...
Wow, it's really posterized. Just give it a second while it loads.
But if that wave of content is boring, lame, or uninteresting, then what's the...
It's very much just a...
But if that wave of content is boring, lame, or uninteresting, then what's the point?
I think we'll leave it off for this specific example. I think let's add some color into the scene. What do we want? I think let's make the word wave in just some red. Let's maybe just do that red. Actually, maybe not nearly that intense. Maybe. But if that wave... And then in our compositing stage, maybe we add a deep glow to the whole thing to almost give it a bit of a stylized look. I don't know. I don't love it on everything. Let's maybe if we put it on that text layer, that we're working with, in a wave of content. And then I am pretty certain that we can change the input so that we only get color, or we could only get, or we can just mask it. That's going to be a much easier way of doing it. We want to select this area, set it to none, and then invert it, and then hopefully if we come up to mask, we select this, we go alpha, select invert, and now it's doing something weird that I don't know why it's doing that. Masks? It's almost duplicating the layer for some reason. Maybe I have to draw like a really weird mask that only selects these sections. That might be the go. And then if we go masks, and then we turn this off, and then we go here, masks, alpha, turn off invert, I feel like okay, you know what? Actually, why not just do that and then duplicate it, and then go to our mask tool and then change that to subtract. And then we don't actually need to set the glow to anything because that'll be the only thing there. And then we come back down to our bottom layer and we delete the deep glow, and there we go. And now let's put that. Okay, so I hope you guys were following, because I don't think I said a single word that made any sense. So that's exactly how a lesson should go. What I did there was I separated it using a mask so that I could add a glow to just that. But now that I've done it, I'm not loving how it looks. So let's play around with those settings, and hopefully we can get it to something that we do actually like. And maybe it's better to put the shadow. No, it's fine where it was. So let's turn down the radius first off. Maybe about maybe at about 250. Let's change that exposure to maybe about 0.45, just so that it's more of a glow rather than a, I don't know, a glare. 300 maybe. Do we want to add anything like chromatic aberration or tint? Tint is okay. I think that'll look alright. Obviously, we're already working with a red layer, so it doesn't really matter too much. No, I don't want to work with chromatic aberration on a glow just with this one. But I think that's pretty good in terms of what we want to get out of this particular section. And it makes it, obviously, a bit more visually interesting, which is great. Or, I know I keep coming back and changing things. Do we want to put some space in between that? No. I don't want to drag this out any longer. If you wanted to play around with this a bit more, you definitely could. But you guys know that, you guys know what to do. Obviously, I've not planned this out as properly as I should have. Obviously, we had a lesson where we kind of talked through what we wanted to do. But in future, drawing things out and seeing the composition and the shape and the form of everything is a great way to ensure that you don't run into issues like this. But if you're doing something similar, you can always break up these pieces of text so that you get something that's maybe a bit nicer to look at and the colors make a bit more sense. But I still think that it does a pretty good job at what we're aiming to do, so it's not really too much of a issue. What else? Do we need a background? Is a background necessary for something like this? I think it might just take away or distract, especially because it's going to be, because we are using the blur, it is going to become very blurry very quickly. So I think for this one, we'll leave it how it is. I think we can maybe add some kind of flicker effect. There's a lot of effects that can do that. So let's go ahead, let's go flicker.
But if that wave of content is boring,
How intense is that?
but if that wave of content is
That's very quick. We want it to be a little slower. Amplitude is the intensity. Then wave amplitude, random frequency, random. I wish that this was just a little bit less, it was a little bit more streamlined so I know what words it was talking about.
But if that wave of content is boring, lame, or uninteresting, then what's...
I think it's okay. I think that's fine. We'll put that underneath everything except warp, and then what's another good thing to add? Camera shake. We said we were going to do that, and then we never did. So let's just grab one of our effects. It's for camera shake. Let's put it underneath warp. And then we want a shake amount to be like 5%. And then we'll scale footage to 100. Let's check how that works. I kind of want to only see what the effect, what the shake looks like. So let's...
But if that wave of content...
I'm sorry, Joseph. You gotta go on mute, man. Just so that we don't have to hear him slowed all the way down like we saw earlier, because he sounds a little demonic. Okay. That's a bit of annoying. What is going on there? So I know why that's happening, right? Are these aligned to the center? It might just be easier to get rid of. No, because it's going to mess with the keyframes. Ugh. Okay, we're just going to... Oh, how about we just hide the fill? Is that actually going to fix the problem that I have, though? Not really. Okay. You know what? We're just gonna go with it because what is happening? No, it was fine earlier. What's going on? Why is the text above the glow? Ah. No? Am I crazy? Whatever. No, I'm not. That's so strange. Why is it, and then when we go in, there's none of that. Is it the camera shake effect? It is the camera shake effect. That's so strange. Alright. Couldn't tell you why that's happening. Let's just go ahead and let's find a alternative shake effect. S_shake. That'll work fine. And it doesn't do that. Okay. Amplitude. We don't want anything too intense, and I know that, yep, Sapphire's shake is very intense. So let's push it from 1 to about 0.15. Frequency. We don't want it happening 8 times a second. Let's maybe do 3. By the way, I apologize for kind of leaving in the troubleshooting, but it is a part of the process, and you need to kind of see it a little bit.
But if that wave of content is boring,
okay, it's definitely noticeable. I think it's too intense and too quick. So let's fix that up too. So you know what? Let's just divide that by 2, and then let's have a look.
but if that wave of content is boring, lame, or uninteresting.
The slow, lame or uninteresting. Alright, come on. Get those last few frames, After Effects. Thank you very much.
But if that wave of content is boring, lame, or uninteresting, then what's the point?
Yeah, that's seems pretty good. I think that ideally, you would break this bottom line of text up and make it a bit more dynamic. Maybe have wave be really big, so it's like, but if that wave, and that's the section that's red, and then of content is white almost underneath. So if you let me pull up no, it's fine. So it had but if that, and then wave was really big, and then of content was below it really small, not really small, but just the same size as the top. That could look really interesting, and then wave was red, and you wouldn't have to worry about any sort of masking issues like I have run into. But that's you know, why we do these walkthroughs. That's why you should watch through to the end. But I think in terms of animation, we'll wrap it up there. We'll come back and we will make it look a little bit better in a moment or in a later lesson. So yeah, I'll wrap this one up here. You guys keep going.